Now let's bring you up to date with the Hurricane Katrina. Thousands of people have finally been evacuated from the shattered city of New Orleans 1 week after the hurricane struck. The United States of America say the good security of the city says that the government is under control over the situation. Huge storage tanks have been causing a massive spillage in the New Orleans area. Thousands and thousands of crude oil is spilling into the Mississippi River. For more news, come back after the 5-minute long break.
Dove thinks you should leave the oil in your hair. Many shampoos wash good oils down the drain. Dove's new reformulated shampoos help leave essential oils where they belong. Dove, keep the good stuff.
Now on to Abdul Walid on more news about how the hurricane formed.
When this warm and wet air rises, it condenses to form towering clouds and heavy rainfall. It also creates low pressure zone near the surface of the water. Rising warm air causes the pressure to decrease at higher altitudes. Warm air is under a higher pressure than cold air, so moves towards the space occupied by the cooler lower pressure air. So the low pressure air sucks in the warm surroundings, which then also rises. A continuous upflow of warm and wet air continues to create clouds and rain. Air that surrounds the low pressure zone at the center flows in a spiral at very high speeds, anti-clockwise in the northern hemisphere, at speeds around 120 kilometers per hour, which is also 75 miles per hour. So air is ejected at the top of the storm, which can be 15 kilometers high, and falls to the outside of the storm, out over the top, away from the eye of the storm. As this happens, it reduces the mass of the air over the eye of the storm, causing the wind speed to increase further. Some ejected air also cools and dries and sinks through the eye of the storm, adding to the low pressure at the center. The faster winds blow, the lower the air pressure is at the center, and so the cycle continues. The hurricane grows stronger and stronger. Seen from above, hurricanes have huge circular bodies of thick cloud around 450 kilometers wide, 300 miles. The cloud brings heavy rain and thunder and lightning. In the center is the eye of the hurricane, about 45 kilometers across, 30 miles, which is often there will be no clouds in the eye. Seen from below, it will seem calmer with a circle of blue sky above. The eye is formed because this is the only part of the hurricane where cold air is descending. In the northern hemisphere, the prevailing easterly tropical winds tend to steer hurricanes towards land, although their course is unpredictable, just like how the Katrina hurricane went from Caribbean Sea going to the north, and then it stopped and did a curve towards Mexico and up to America. As hurricanes move inshore, their power gradually reduces because the energy becomes less, because the hurricane's energy comes from the moist sea air. So therefore in the land where there's no sea air, the energy will become less. And that's it on how the Hurricane Katrina was formed. Thank you.
Thank you, Abdul, for showing us that. Now on to Emmanuel, for who is in the scene of where the hurricane took place and is going to interview a Chinese person called Ming Li. Yeah, Ming Ling. Yeah. Okay, now on to Emmanuel.
Thank you, Mr. Dawood. Now we're going to move on to the effects and responses. Many victims of the Hurricane Katrina were left homeless, could not find a place to live in. Many families started to live in trailers, and many people sought refuge in the Superdome Stadium. However, conditions in the stadium was very unhygienic, and there were constant shortages of food and water supplies. There were many looters around the city who took equipment from people. Around 1 million people were made homeless by the hurricane, and 1,200 people drowned in the floods. All facilities were damaged by the storm, and as a result, petrol prices rose in the UK and the USA. There were lots of criticism considering how the government handled the disaster. Although lots of people were evacuated, it was a very hefty process, and the poorest and most vulnerable were left behind to stay. The government couldn't financially support the victims and was given $50 billion in aid by other countries. The UK government sent food supplies during the early stages of the recovery, which then caused many food supply shortages during later stages. The environment became very hostile and unsafe due to damages and looters, in which the National Guard was mobilized to restore and maintain law and order around the city. Thank you. Good afternoon, y'all. We're here in New Orleans the day after Hurricane Katrina attacked. Right now, we're here doing an interview with a victim called Ming Lee. Ming Lee! Ming Lee!
Hello?
I'm here. We're doing an interview, okay? We're live. Yeah. So I ask you questions, okay? And you answer. Alright, so what is your name? What is your name?
My name is Ming Lee.
Okay, where do you live?
I live in New Orleans.
Very obvious. When did the hurricane hit your city?
Yesterday, August 29, 2005.
Did your family have to leave the area?
My family gone now. The hurricane took them from me, like my rice fields. They're gone now too.
Okay. How did you prepare for the storm?
What?
How did you prepare for the attack?
Flashlights, batteries, water, lots and lots of rice with rice cooker. 2 of them.
What did you do to your house? Protected from the attack, you know?
My house gone too. Like my rice fields, they're gone.
Okay. And what room did you go to? Room, like in your house.
My house gone. I stayed Superdome.
Okay.
Mercedes-Benz Superdome.
What type of cleaning? Okay. Did you do in your house?
Yes, I cleaned before, but now my house gone, so no more cleaning.
You clean what?
I have nothing to clean. My house gone. One time it's there. Now it's gone. It's made in China, that's why it's gone.
One question. Can you didn't listen?
Okay.
Yeah, so can you describe any major damage in your neighborhood? Like damage by the hurricane?
To my house,
Neighborhood.
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 All our houses gone. We're all homeless now. The hurricane just took it. It's weak, very weak. Mainly because Chinese people, you know.
I can tell. I can relate.
Okay.
One more question, okay? Two more. Do you have any other information? Any other information?
The hurricane very strong. It killed my family. It took my house and my rice field.
One more. Okay?
And it killed a lot of people.
One more question, okay? One more question. Before you can go. What happened to your house?
My house gone. Gone. Why you not listening? Why? Oh, that's not enough!
Hey!
Thank you, Emmanuel and Ching Chong, for your time. And that's all for today, ladies and gentlemen. And come back tomorrow for more useless news. And good night.